how much more distortion they're going to be adding at the top of the cylinder bores, because ultimately what I've learned and read online, a little bit of cylinder taper as it goes up and down is not the end of the world, but what you don't want is cylinder ovaling at the top, forcing something round to squish into something not quite as round every single time it hits the top of the cylinder, which is where it has the most pressure and sees the most heat, etc. And I want this motor to last a long time because it's going in my forever truck. It's going in my 88 Ranger. I want it to be an efficient motor. I want it to be able to get miles per gallon, but I want it to feel good at lower speeds and be peppy as well. So, but that being said, I'm going to torque down what I think is probably a junk head or borderline head and measure the bores with the tools I have, and we'll see what we come up with. That's what we're boring it out to, 81.5 millimeter. It's a 0.5 millimeter oversized, so our bore should be 81. It needs to be long enough to where when we put it in the bore, it gets squished down just a little bit. Our bore, 3.189. So I'm thinking this 3.2 is going to be perfect. So this side is fixed, and the only thing that changes the dial is the little spring nubbin. So the fixed end, your board determines which piece to pick here. This engine had 280,000 miles on it. I'm replacing them, but I honestly want to really keep this set. I want them, even though the TED is a non, I want to measure them from the bottom, just to be fair, so that the numbers are most likely to be the same, right? And I realize that the diagonals are going to be flipping. Yeah, it does flip. So as I first started to measure the block, I was going crossways and completely ignoring the thrust and, 90 degrees of thrust, which is essentially the oval I needed to measure. So in a minute, I'm going to show footage of me bolting the head on and then going ahead and measuring the correct measurements. And those are what you'll see in the Excel spreadsheet. After I took the head off, I then did those same measurements again on torque. As I was going through that, I realized just measuring X's is not going to tell me if the cylinders get oval. It seems like it will tell me specifically how much distortion the head studs are causing, because the X is in line with the head bolts. However, the thrust surfaces are on this plane, crossways. And I think that's the oval that I would need to be worried about. So, I think I do have to get the micrometer out. So, let's do that. Let's see if it's calibrated. 3-inch. That's pretty damn close. That's 0. Cheap ass tool. This has been sitting in the closet 12 months. Still calibrated perfectly. And we're gonna put the head on with the gasket. That's a little different than the head gasket on the 2.9 in my Ranger currently. Optitorque head studs, Volkswagen, kit number there. I'm glad I read these. Back off, quarter turn after stud is bottomed in the block. OEM washers. I'm sure there's a pattern I should be following. 40 newton meters, 60 newton meters, quarter turn, quarter turn. '65's kind of a strong. I'm gonna sneak up on 65. No, it's hard to start with one at 65 with all the other ones loose. That doesn't feel right to me. Maybe I'll creep up on it in quarter increments. All right, torque round. That's 100 right there. Shit. Something I'm a little concerned with this head, seemingly all the heads that came on these engines, are those cracks from the injector hole to the seats, plural. Pretty obvious that they drilled the holes too close to the valve seats at the factory. Well, so the service manual says 5 millimeters. Actually, there's a spec on it. But I've also read that if they don't extend into the injector seat, then it's fine. So I don't know.
Purple blue to them.
Overall, the data shows that torquing the cylinder head studs caused, on average, about 1.5 thousandths, specifically in out-of-round change at the very top of the cylinder head in pretty much every cylinder. You see at the top, piston or cylinder wall spec is only a little bit more than that. I think honing the engine block with the torque plate, if you plan to use head studs, is probably a good idea with the TDI motor, or at least the BHW. What do you think? Are you a engine builder? Are you a machinist? Do you think I need a torque plate? Comment below. Thanks for watching.